Hello, hello, my lonely subscriber. Welcome back to Introvert Wine. And today you're gonna have episode 3, which is called Getting Certified. And I have invited a very, very special person to host it with me today. It's gonna be a long one because I thought we're gonna cover and really go deep and very detailed in so many things. And for all my Russian speaking community, I have a bonus track in the end of me and the speaker doing a bonus for you in Russian. So it's going to be a very special one. I've already mentioned in episode 1 that all the different certifications, diplomas, and overall accolades in the wine world interest me deeply, and I have done, and will continue to do a lot of them. So it was interesting for me to go over them, not by myself, otherwise it will be just very boring of me listing all of them in the order, but actually discuss, exchange opinions, and maybe also learn a thing or two from a person who, in my opinion, has done all of them or most of them. And it will be my honor to host this episode with Valeria Tenison. Please give a warm welcome to Valeria Tenison. Valeria, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Valeria Tenison. It's hard to describe myself in a few words because I have quite a diverse background. Most of my career I worked in hospitality, starting as a waiter in a hotel, but then quickly I fell in love with wine, and that brought me to a sommelier school. And later I began writing about wine and still continue doing so, and also working on the floor from time to time. But nowadays, my primary occupation is wine hunting, as I call it, searching for new producers and connecting them to importers. I also do my MW studies now and getting ready for the MW exam soon.
So, well, when I thought about speaking about different certifications and diplomas and overall education in wine, I think it was quite easy for me to identify that you are the person I want to talk this about, because you have done almost all of them. In my opinion, there are very few or you have researched but not done. So I trust that we can have a very fruitful discussion. But overall, for people who are already working in wine or just looking to start working in wine, do you think that getting kind of certified or getting some diploma is important overall? What does it give to you?
I would say it depends. I think it is important and getting more and more important to get certifications. But then on the other hand, I know people, great wine professionals who have never done any certification. But nowadays, when the world is getting more globalized, let's say, and people are traveling more and changing countries and jobs, I think having a world recognized certification is great, and it helps you to establish yourself in a new environment. That's why I think certifications are quite important.
So you mentioned that, yeah, if you want to have like a global certification, can we maybe, before we deep dive in particular ones, gonna try to outline what are the main styles, what are the main directions of these diplomas and certifications, and for whom they're aimed? And then we can talk about, the most relevant, in our opinion, for sommelier, hospitality, and business. But what would be the main groups, let's say, of all the existing ways of getting certified or getting a diploma in wine?
For myself, I split it in kind of 3 main categories. The first one being production winemaking, which is not strictly a certification because it's a proper scientific education, a proper academic course that you need to do, and that might last 5 or 6 years. So it's actually based on university program. And then, of course, there are courses for sommeliers, so people for service, let's say people working on the floor. Hospitality or tourism, I would say, also relates to that. And then there are kind of hybrid courses for people working in business or communication or marketing and expert. And these, for me, are the three main groups. And then they can be split further in more specific ones. And of course, there are global certifications and there are regional ones. I think that we will touch further on.
Yeah, speaking about global and regional, globally again, if depending why you're looking to get in certified, then of course you should be speaking globally. But I think regional, what we mentioned is certification or diploma aimed at studying a particular region. So it doesn't mean that it's only recognized in one region. It means that you are kind of deep diving in studying a certain region, like Rioja, Jerez, or I think there are multiple. But the aim, I think, between this global and regional is that regional does not certify you as a wine professional. It certifies that you know this particular region maybe better than other people, other professionals, whereas these global certifications should define that you at least possess a minimum knowledge, depending on the level you're studying, of the wine education that's recognized globally. So speaking about different ones that are available, I think for us, maybe it's logically to focus on the global ones, because as I said, the regional ones, they're of course highly interesting, but they're not certifying you as a wine professional overall. They're just kind of proving that you know all the appellations, all the grape varieties, all the production methods of cava, for example, that do not certify that you know how to maybe produce wine in Bordeaux, or how to fortify wine, etc. So I think it will be probably interesting to more people to speak about the global certifications and what are the different global certifications and diplomas that are available now.
Yeah, talking about the global certifications, of course, we cannot help mentioning WSET. I know many people are a bit skeptical about this because, of course, every certification has its limitations, and so does WSET, which is completely normal. Then, of course, WSET have several levels, so it's also important to distinguish between first, second, third, and diploma level. They are completely different, and of course, not at the same level of difficulty. And then we also have ASI certification, which is targeting sommeliers, and the highest global ones, I would say, it's the Master of Wine and Master Sommelier, which are very different in a way, but often mentioned together being one of the most difficult wine certifications in the world. Finishing the topic of the regional ones, maybe I would add to what you said is that some of them actually require to have a kind of a level of global certification to be signed up for. Let's say usually a Cava course or Italian wine ambassador course will require you to have at least a WCT3 level. So you can confirm that you know
At
something
least,
about
yeah.
wine, at least at a certain level. And also some regional certifications. Of course, some of them, they're just kind of an overview of the region, especially those who were kind of appearing during the COVID time, kind of 100% online ones, which give you an overview of the region. But also there are more specific ones and more in-depth ones, like Rioja Wine Educator course, for example, which actually allows you to teach about these regions. So it's kind of a much higher level, and also it's a hybrid one. So you study partially online, but then you go to the region and taste a lot of wines during 1 week and see the region and understand everything from inside.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming back to this, the international, the big guys, the big guns, as they're usually called, the WSET, ASI, MWMS, how are they different in terms of, I think, mostly speaking about for whom are they aimed, because I imagine, of course, all of them are equally important, and it just depends where you're based and what do you want to do with your career. But in terms of what they give you as a professional, how would you separate them or group them, or I don't know, place them towards each other?
I would structure it this way. SI and MS do target mostly sommeliers because they have a practical part, they have a service part. So, of course, it's much easier for people working on the floor on a daily basis to pass this certification. It's not impossible for others, but anyway, they are more implied for the ones who work on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And then WCT and MW are for a wider audience, I would say, and they don't exclude sommeliers. Actually, there are several sommeliers who are MWs as well, like the late Gérard Basset, for example. But yes, they have a practical part, but a practical part in sense of tasting. And so many MWs, they never worked on the floor, and they are more from a business side or from a marketing part. So it's a great diversity. So I would say this will be more kind of a wider audience oriented, like WCT and MW.
And well, actually, the interesting approach would be like, how would you pick one for you if you decided that, yes, it's important for my career, I want to be presented on a global level and recognized on the global level in the wine business. So how would you advise a person pick a program or a path, because they're not excluding each other? There are people who first did WSET, then went on to MW, or either MS, or, for example, did ASI certification and then went to MS. So they're not excluding each other, of course. But how would you advice for somebody starting on this journey to kind of outline this teaching program for themselves?
I would say it's very important to read the syllabus thoroughly before starting any certification. And of course, bear in mind that both WCT at the diploma level and the Master Wine imply a lot of writing. And this is kind of a academic British style essay writing, which can be quite difficult for many people, especially for those who are not native speakers and who were not brought up, let's say, in a British educational system. So that actually can be something to consider. But then, of course, maybe at this point, it's quite important to talk about money and time.
Yes. No, nobody ever speaks about the cost of those. And I think it's a very important decision point when you look at these programs as well.
I like to approach it in this way, like think about your return on investment. And when I talk about investment, I'm not only talking about money, which are, of course, is very important, but then about time. Because at a certain age, I think you understand that maybe time is even more expensive and more precious than money. So yes, it's really crucial before you start any certification to understand how much will you spend in terms of money and time, and is it worth it? What will it bring to you, to your career? And based on that, you can make kind of a more thoughtful based, like a more, I don't know the word, like a better decision, let's say. Yeah.
Can you give some practical examples? Because when people say, oh, like MW is expensive, nobody actually understands how expensive it is. But also the time-wise, like timings of those, if you're looking at, oh, should I stop at diploma, or whether I want to proceed to MW to MS, how much does it cost and how much time should you plan for yourself to actually get those done?
Well, maybe it's worth starting talking about the WCT. Like WCT, if we talk about our alma mater, let's say the Wine Academy in Rust, it's one of the most affordable ones in Europe, and the whole course, as far as I remember, according to the latest numbers, is around 6,500 euro, which in terms of time, you can make it in 2 years or maybe even a bit faster. But I would say 2 years for the diploma is something like manageable, and you still can keep a good life, work, and private life balance. And then for the Master of Wine, I know people who did it in 3 years, which is the shortest I think
Who
you
did
can
it in
make
3 years? I want to know these people.
Like Fernando Mora, for
Okay.
example, a Spanish winemaker from Aragon, but
But
him
it's not
alone.
typical. Yeah, well, I mean, there are people like that, but not a lot.
Yeah, there are. I think now actually there are more and more people who do it quite quickly. I think because the time is just getting so precious, and like the life is getting faster, so people really don't want to spend too much time on that, so they prefer to push for 3 years and then to get it over and done and just have these two letters behind their names and be proud of that. But then there are people who were doing it for 7-8 years. And that's totally fine. We don't know what were their conditions and what their consequences like in life, etc. So for the Master of Wine, I remember when I started the program, I talked to Caro Maurer, MW. She was telling me that I should not start the program if I don't have around 15,000 euro per year to spend. And this sum also
But this is not the
includes,
fees. This also, includes
yeah,
other
that
expenses.
includes the fees and the traveling and the expenses for
Tasting,
wines and boot camps and
everything.
everything. The fees themselves are around £5,000 per year for the program. And then in the second year, when you pass to stage 2, you also have to think that the exam has an extra cost of around £2,500. So yeah,
I would
it's
expect
not
really good wines in the exam for that.
they sometimes had something like
Sometimes
yellowtail
there's
Shiraz.
surprises. Mateos.
Yeah, or Mateo Shiraz, yes. Yeah, but I mean, the program, I would not say that it's crazily expensive itself. But
No, if you
then, of
compare it
course,
to an MBA or something like that, it's very in line. And a lot of people are doing an MBA, and you're like, how is this different? And it's also very intense. And I don't think you can do an MBA with a full-time job. I think you need to kind of make a pause for, or you do it longer. Again, it depends how you structure it. But I agree with you, that's very in line. Some of the MBAs are even more expensive, like way more expensive. Or if you look at certain private universities in the United States, for example, the amounts are not comparable. So I wouldn't say that maybe it's crazy when you just at the beginning of your, like you did WSET level 2, which is cute, a couple of €100, and then you're looking at Master of Wine and that's thousands, and maybe that's the difference that scares. But in comparison, again, to MBA or different degrees in business, it's very, I'd say, in line. It's not cheap, but it's in line what's required for others. And the ones that we haven't touched upon yet, the MS and ASI, how would you compare in terms of effort, costs, and time that you spend on those?
I did ASI in 2017, I think, quite a while ago. I remember the cost at that time was €200, and I don't think it grew up kind of
It did, but not
significantly.
dramatically. Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
it's over
so
300
I think,
something.
yeah, but well, we should consider it's a certification, and the course is the exam, let's say itself, is quite brief and short. So yes, also ASI, as far as I know, is a non-profit organization. So kind of the cost of the exam is just covering the expenses of the organizers. And then the MS, which I'm less familiar with, but then I talked to some of my colleagues who did it, and the costs are also quite moderate, let's say, in the beginning. The certified, introductory and certified, I remember it was around €1,000. And then when you go to advanced, it's the same. 1,000, and then it starts to be more complicated, because then people say that the costs for the master sommelier level depend a lot on the place where you do that.
Do you mean the country or
the country? Because there are several certification
centers,
locations, venues, let's say, because there are a couple of them, I'm sure, in the US, and then in Europe, and then also in Asia or Africa, for example. We had some numbers like 4,000 Hong Kong dollars, which I have no idea how much is that in euro. But then someone said that it's actually around 1,000 euro for the master as well. So I guess like the costs are not significantly higher when you go to the next level. They actually go higher because you have to taste a lot of wines. But then I guess it's also the same thing. It's very relevant to MW program as well. You form a lot of tasting groups by the time you get to this level. So of course you can share the costs and split the cost between the members of the group.
Or you can get a scholarship.
Exactly. There are several scholarships available, I guess, for each and every of this program. So yeah, apply for the scholarships.
They can
quite
be
useful.
not directly intended to cover maybe the fees, but they can be aimed for tasting or theory. Like I know the Wine Scholar Guild has also scholarship, which are not directly linked, for example, if you are doing MWMS, but it's theory knowledge that you need to have. So I can account it towards the program as well, when it's not directly related, or maybe some tasting scholarship or tasting kind of opportunity that's also not linked directly. So it's not part of the official program, but then it helps you to do better in the program, which is also great.
Yeah, of course, any help matters. And then finishing with the master sommelier, in terms of timing, you have to complete all the 3 parts of the exam, which is like theory, practical, tasting and service, in 3 consecutive years. So there is a time limitation, and then the number of attempts is not limited, but they have to invite you. That's what my friend told me. I have no idea what it means actually. They have to invite you, because then it seems someone is like deciding on your on your destiny, you know. But I guess it's like if you perform decently, so they invite you. Actually, there's a kind of the same thing in the Master Wine exam. In stage 1, when you take the stage 1 exam, there are 3 potential outcomes of your exam. Is you pass, you fail, but you can repeat the exam next year, or you fail and they exclude you.
You fail miserably and then you're booed away from the program.
Yes. So I think that's what they mean in the Master Sommelier program. They invite you. So you kind of fail, but they invite you.
But they're like, okay, yeah. Let's give him a shot. And in terms of accessibility, I imagine the majority are English taught, and then also depending on where you're located, it's easier for some of us who are based maybe closer to these educational centers or places that they teach you these courses. But again, I can see that if you're somewhere from Kazakhstan, Kenya, or I don't know, Argentina, it might be a bit more difficult for you to just to have a reach to these places, and doesn't depend. It's like if it's MWMS, you have to probably travel somewhere because the exams are not happening in all the cities, all the locations. So that actually also adds to the cost, and maybe your motivation and discipline to actually go and take the exam.
Well, I think MS, they do quite a good job on kind of regional representation, because I heard about courses in India, and now there's going to be a course in South Africa, which of course it gets it makes it more accessible in general. For the MW, yes, I agree. This, it's only available. You can sit the exam in London, in Napa, or in Adelaide. And these places for many, many people in the world are not visa free, which already kind of adds to your cost. And receiving a UK visa, an American visa, or Australian visa is not so easy for everyone in the world. I guess they might do a bit better on kind of accessibility of the program. But well, it's a London-based institution, so of course it used to be very, very oriented towards English-speaking world, but now it's changing. So we'll see what will happen in the
having the
coming
fingers
years.
crossed for Rust. Go Austria. So you can you speak on your personal experience? So you had ASI, you obviously have the WSET diploma, and then you're in the MW. Did you have any plans to do the MS or any other thing to complement, or you're okay with how it goes?
I think if and when I become an MW,
I'm betting on when.
Yes, I think I will stop at that point because it's also kind of important to monetize on your studies at some point. So it's nice. I love studies, but then you need to have the real return on investment. So maybe after that, I will concentrate more on making money on the title, which I think that's the main reason why we do that. Of course, my ego will be happy, but also I want my bank account to be happy. And then I actually compared MS and MW before I started MW. I was strongly considering MS with the sommelier background. That's kind of obvious. But then I think what put me towards MW versus MS was the theory. The theory in the Master Sommelier course is very factual, let's say. You need to know a lot of facts about vineyards and different appellations and years when the wines were not produced. So kind of the same knowledge you need for the sommelier competitions, which I did previously. For me nowadays, with the artificial intelligence developing so rapidly, I think most of this knowledge you kind of can Google, and I don't see the reason why I should keep that all in my head. While in MW program, you actually have to think and kind of use your logic and use your common sense and also critical thinking to arrive to the decision or solution. So I think that's what AI still cannot do as efficiently as a human brain. So for me, that was kind of the rational decision to go towards MW versus MS. So after completing MW, I don't think I will kind of go the other way that I already eliminated for myself.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that you will stop kind of learning about wine because it's evolving so fast, that you still are very much emerged into like new vintages, new producers, new styles, but already with I'd say the top level title certification that exists today. Let's be honest. I think that's a lot of people stop at that level because it's already enough. And even if they're doing PhD or something in parallel, I don't think PhD is that relevant it's of course relevant, but if you speak about the wine industry, I think MW is kind of seen as the pinnacle of everything, of everybody's careers and achievements, which is great. So best of luck to you. Fingers crossed. We're all waiting for the when, not for the if. Wow, I feel that was a very successful episode, and I'm really happy to have hosted it with Valeria because, in my opinion, there is no better person, honestly, to speak about all this programs, diplomas, certifications rather than her. And I feel like we touched upon many details and really important details like the length, the cost, return on investment, your motivation, and many, many details that actually influence and should influence the decision when you decide to study that or this program. And I hope you really enjoyed it. And for those of you who do not speak Russian, the second part of this podcast, the bonus part, would be in Russian. So maybe this is where you stop listening unless you want to improve your Russian. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks. And I'm really excited because next episode will be with another special person, because I only host this podcast with very cool people. And I'm going to announce that it's a he and it's a sommelier. And we'll be talking about sommelier profession and a certain wine region. So stay tuned. Thanks. Так, бонус на русском языке специально для наших постоянных русскоязычных подписчиков. Вопрос, который, я думаю, нам с тобой задают и будут задавать регулярно. И можно уже один раз это проговорить и потом вырезать этот участок и просто отсылать его аудиосообщениями людям, которые пишут нам в личку, звонят через знакомых, спрашивают. И этот вопрос, как же переехать в Европу, либо в любую другую страну, я бы, наверное, расширила нашу географию с помощью вина. И я думаю, у нас такие достаточно, не то чтобы банальные, но предсказуемые опции, которые и мы использовали, которые наши друзья и знакомые использовали, которые мы, наверное, как-то вкратце обговорим. Это с помощью работы, учебы или стажировок. Мы, наверное, обе скорее с помощью учебы все-таки переезжали, но я думаю, что-то про остальное тоже можем рассказать. Естественно, у вас всех есть возможность переехать при женитьбе или замужестве, при личных каких-то ваших перипетиях, но это мы обсуждать не будем. Это канал, наверное, там сватьи или как бы женитьба замуж за западного европейца. Вот вам, наверное, туда. Давай поговорим про работу. Как ты думаешь... Опять-таки, наверное, не столько и не только ограничиваясь Европой, как при помощи работы в вине или работы сомелье переехать по работе куда-то. Что нужно сделать, на что обращать внимание, какие, можно сказать, шаги нужно для этого предпринять?
Я сразу выскажу дисклеймер, потому что у меня как раз тот самый хэштег «замуж за иностранца», поэтому я никогда в Европе не делала рабочих виз. И вот для людей, которым нужна какая-то действительно профессионального уровня консультация, это вот прям не ко мне, потому что у меня виза семейная, и деталей я не знаю. Но тем не менее, естественно, мы общаемся и работаем с многими иностранцами, которые живут в Европе. Опять-таки, мы, наверное, сейчас будем говорить больше про переезд в Европу, хотя есть, естественно, другие страны. Я работала в какое-то время на Мальдивах, то есть есть другие страны, которые требуют большое количество рабочей силы приглашенной, поэтому Европа — это не единственный вариант, и на самом деле не самый простой вариант. Но, тем не менее, да, работа один из вариантов. Мне кажется, что сейчас, особенно в сфере hospitality, да, в сфере ресторанного бизнеса в Европе существует большой дефицит кадров, плюс страны такие, как Объединенные Арабские Эмираты, например, или те же Мальдивы, они всегда привлекают большое количество профессионалов, зачастую из Европы, поэтому этот вариант можно рассматривать для переезда, но тут зачастую утыкается, так скажем, камень преткновения — это рабочая виза, которую, скорее всего, вам должен будет предоставить работодатель. И я бы для себя никогда не поехала никуда работать, если бы меня не пригласили, потому что без визы, приехав на место и пытаясь найти работу, это довольно такой сложный вариант, который имеет мало шансов на реализацию. Тем не менее, я даже в последнее время, несмотря на всякие политические неурядицы и кризисы и войну. Вижу людей, которые успешно переехали в другие страны работать и делают классную карьеру. Хочется упомянуть мою хорошую знакомую, например, Кристину Гладилину, которая переехала из Санкт-Петербурга в Лондон. Сейчас является сомелье успешного классного модного ресторана «Лита». То есть сделала
вот, кстати,
все
Англия,
сама.
наверное, UK — это хороший кейс сейчас в том плане, что, не будучи в Евросоюзе, Шенгене, по сути, у них требования для сомелье Франции, Италии и там России, Казахстана, грубо говоря, уравнялись. Поэтому сейчас хороший шанс, если у вас действительно есть опыт и, опять-таки, дипломы и сертификации, то для них вы, возможно, более бюджетный и интересный вариант, чем сомелье из Франции или Германии. в которых совсем другие, возможно, на начальном этапе ожидания и требования. Поэтому да, Англия сейчас такой hot market.
Я думаю, да, после Брексита многие европейцы из континентальной Европы вернулись в свои страны, и действительно Англия сейчас нуждается в квалифицированных сомелье, в целом квалифицированных работников в сфере ресторанного бизнеса, поэтому не стоит отметать этот вариант. С другой стороны, я знаю, что многие едут в Дубай, да, в Объединенные Арабские Эмираты. Там всегда, в принципе, было много работы для экспатов и особенно для тех, кто разбирается в вине, спиртных напитках, потому что страна мусульманская, соответственно, они местные, ну, в принципе, вообще мало работают, с алкоголем работать не могут. Вот. Ну, вот на Мальдивах такая же, например, история, что у них всегда профессии, связанные с алкоголем, могут занимать только не мусульмане, соответственно, открываются большие возможности для людей из европейских, например, стран.
Мгм. Ну и рынки, например, тоже, возможно, Гонконга, Сингапура, тоже любопытные и интересные. Там высокая конкуренция, насколько я понимаю. Но да, обращайте внимание, что на самом деле в некоторых вакансиях пишут, что работодатель будет помогать с визой, особенно вот для стран, которые мы перечислили с Лерой. Я очень часто натыкаюсь на объявления, где прям написано, что рабочая виза со стороны работодателя. То есть понятно, что это не будет там легко и быстро, что это какой-то процесс определенный, но опять-таки зависит от ваших мотиваций и планов, но все вполне реально. Если этим заниматься, то как бы спрос-предложение есть, и реально что-то найти и переехать. Давай перейдем к учебе, потому что мне кажется, это такой, наверное, ну не то чтобы лайт, но как будто чуть попроще вариант, чем сразу переехать и выйти на работу. Через него мы обе прошли. Ну, наверное, я прошла чуть больше именно в плане административной какой-то документационной истории. Но, опять-таки, говоря про Европу, ты, кстати, знаешь какие-то программы? Потому что я, кроме нашей, наверное, не так много знаю каких-то винных магистратур. Я думаю,
Ну,
это,
мы
наверное,
знаем наш Винтур, и мы знаем Винифера, да, вторая программа называется, которая больше ориентирована на
виноделов.
энологов,
Мгм, мгм.
людей, у которых есть базовое образование в области химии, биологии, либо каких-то пищевых производств и так далее. То есть в целом это две самые известные программы, о которых мне известно. Но я много встречаю людей во Франции, которые приехали учиться на программы частных школ. У нас в Бордо есть Кедж, многие едут в Бонн учиться в школу
В
бизнеса.
Дижон
В
тоже.
Дижон, да, в
Мгм,
Дижон, да, в Дижон.
мгм.
Соответственно, вот эти все, ну, плюс есть французские университеты, например, в Монпелье есть программа по винному бизнесу, то есть тут уже надо, наверное, узнавать более детально, какая программа интересует и какой длительности,
Да, какие
потому
требования?
что, да, мы заканчивали мастер, то есть программу двухлетнюю, есть более короткие программы, есть более длинные программы, и стоят они тоже по-разному. На каких-то есть стипендии, и тогда можно поучиться бесплатно и еще получать стипендию на проживание, что, конечно, очень сильно помогает при переезде в новую страну, помогает немножко освоиться, понять, куда двигаться. А есть программы, которые, ну, ты финансируешь сто
Сам.
процентов
Мгм.
сам.
Да, я поэтому сказала, что, наверное, учеба достаточно лайт не в плане финансового, потому что тут зависит, конечно, есть ли у тебя стипендия или нет, но в плане того, что по учебе, я так понимаю, быстрее и чуть легче получить документы, приехать и там, например, на протяжении 2 лет в случае магистратуры будет время как-то освоиться, обзавестись каким-то нетворком в винной индустрии, познакомиться, пообщаться, где-то пройти те же самые стажировки, понять, что дальше, возможно, как бы дальше уже договариваться с этими же работодателями, у них оставаться на постоянную. Плюс, опять-таки, зависит, наверное, от разных стран, но вот в частности в Испании и во Франции есть программа, которая позволяет остаться на год после окончания учебы для поиска работы или для открытия компании. То есть это такой годовой цикл, который они тебе дают, грубо говоря, понять, сможешь ли ты найти постоянную работу, дальше адаптироваться и уже интегрироваться в полноценную рабочую среду. Ну и стажировки, да, стажировки имеется в виду что-то от 3 до 6 месяцев, наверное. Тут тоже сильно зависит от того, в какой сфере вы хотите. Если это туризм, то, опять-таки, для Франции актуально с апреля до октября. Если это винодельческие стажировки, они зависят от сезона, собственно, в северном и южном полушарии, когда проходит урожай. Ну и для них тоже, в зависимости от страны, возможно, есть какие-то специальные программы, которые могут позволить чуть проще получить именно вот эту краткосрочную визу там на 3, на 6 месяцев. Возможно, я что-то слышала про Новую Зеландию, возможно, что-то есть, ну вот действительно в таких винодельческих странах, которые нуждаются в том числе в работниках ручного труда, а не только маркетологах, сомелье, специалистов по бизнесу, но и людей, которые будут на винодельне работать с утра до вечера. Ну, и либо есть какие-то, наверное, неофициальные способы, но это уже в сторону Аргентины, Чили и того. Но это уже в плане, наверное, больше опыта. Не то чтобы это супер нужно, чтобы там закрепиться как-то в плане документов. Это, наверное, чтобы понять и научиться именно виноделию, если есть такое желание. Есть ли что-то у тебя по стажировкам
Ну
туда?
да, я по стажировкам на самом деле довольно скептически отношусь, в принципе, к этой истории, потому что в Европе, насколько я понимаю, стажировка, именно если это стажировка, она может быть только привязана к учебе, то есть вы не
Мгм.
можете стажироваться официально на винодельне, не будучи студентом какого-то учебного заведения, которое вас отправляет на эту стажировку. Поэтому тут для граждан не ЕС это довольно сложная история. Я знаю людей, которые проходили такие вот как бы стажировки у виноделов, но это было 3, 4, 5 лет назад, и это было неофициально.
Мгм.
И, насколько я знаю, в последующие годы виноделы уже отказывали в таких стажировках, потому что это для них большой риск.
Мгм.
У
Мгм.
нас в Бордо во время сбора урожая периодически летают дроны от контролирующих организаций, считая по головам количество сборщиков. И ловит она, конечно, не стажеров из
Мгм.
Казахстана,
Но могут
России и
попасть,
так далее,
да, да.
но ловит она, они не ловят они нелегальных сотрудников, которых тоже полно.
Но
Но
попасть
как бы
сможете
можно
вы.
попасться под горячую, да, руку. И второй момент, который я бы обязательно для себя учитывала: работа на виноградниках или на винодельне — это опасная
М.
история, то есть особенно на винодельне, ну, и хотя и на винограднике можно пальцы себе обрезать. В общем, не исключены несчастные случаи, в том числе мы знаем, да, о несчастных случаях с смертельным исходом. Поэтому любая такая неофициальная стажировка, она сопряжена с рисками. Да, если с вами что-то случится, и не будет другого выхода, как вести вас в больницу, в скорую и так далее, опять-таки выяснится, что вы делали на винодельне, были с туристическим визитом, и поэтому упали в чан с вином. В общем, я считаю, что вот очень нужно хорошо просчитать как бы все плюсы и минусы такого варианта, поэтому я для себя никогда стажировки вот какие-то такие неофициальные рассматривала, и если мы летом ездим, помогаем кому-то из наших друзей на виноградниках, то это, так скажем, на свой страх и риск, но, грубо говоря, у нас сейчас есть официальные документы для проживания во Франции, поэтому отвезти нас в больницу не будет, по крайней мере, никаких препятствий или проблем с этим. Вот, поэтому я бы тут, ну, я думаю, что в других странах тоже действуют какие-то свои законы. Обязательно, когда вы договариваетесь с кем-то стажировке или вот каком-то таком волонтерском труде, обязательно спрашивайте у владельцев, да, винодельни о том, как это все будет устроено и какие будут документы, какие будут условия труда, потому что это действительно может оказаться очень критическим моментом.
Мне кажется, этот совет очень разумный и очень практически подходит и к выбору диплома и сертификации, и к выбору работы, и к выбору учебы, и к выбору стажировки. То есть подходите, да, то есть это жизнь, которую вы планируете, зачастую связана с какими-то большими переменами, там, переездами, инвестициями и так далее. Поэтому действительно надо подходить, наверное, вдумчиво, взвешивать все за и против. Я надеюсь, наша беседа кому-то в этом может помочь. И первая часть на английском, и эта часть на русском языке. Спасибо большое, Лере, за уделенное время, за эту познавательную, очень интересную беседу. На этой чудесной позитивной ноте я буду с вами прощаться. Я надеюсь, этот эпизод, обе его части, и на английском, и на русском, был максимально полезным. И посмотрим, будем ли мы дальше экспериментировать с разными языками, поскольку английский все же является, наверное, основным языком моей работы и профессиональной деятельности. Но посмотрим, как зайдет вам эта часть на русском, посмотрим, на каких других языках, с какими спикерами мы сможем еще пообщаться. Следующий эпизод, как я и сказала, будет через 2 недели, будет с моим большим другом и классным, известным, самым офигительным сомелье в мире. Следите за анонсами и жду вас через 2 недели. Пока!